begin at the beginning.
It is spring, moonless night in the small town, starless
and Bible black. The cobbled street silent, and the hunched quarters and rabbits wood, limping invisible down to the
slow black,
crow black fishing boat bobbing sea. The houses are blind as moles, though moles see fine tonight in the snouting velvet dingles.
Dylan Thomas did a program for radio, which was very like Under Milkwood, but it was short, and it was just him, I think, doing poetry. And then there was a lot of talk about whether they would make another bigger show, and what should it be? Should it be a stage show, or should it be a radio show? Should it be about this small village? Should it be about the way that the outside world impinged on this imaginary, wild, small village? Or should it be cut off from the world? It came to him suddenly how to do it. And to just do Llaregib, to just do this small place, which was nothing to do with the world around it at all. It was completely isolated from everything and wildly strange, obviously. And that's how he wrote it.
You can hear the dew falling and the hushed town breathing. Only your eyes are unclosed to see the black and folded town fast and slow, asleep.
I became aware of it when it was first done, I think. I remember feeling very envious of not being in it because it was such a wonderful production. When I saw the cast list, it had all the people I'd been working with for 4 or 5 years before going to RADA. Dilys Davis, Rachel Howard-Thomas, Gwyneth Petty, and all these wonderful actors that I knew very well. And of course, Richard Burton. I knew Richard because I'd been working with him at the BBC because he hadn't achieved his great stardom at that point. And he would come down to Wales to be in plays. So I played his girlfriend and I played his wife, and somebody unkindly said, and if he'd lived long enough, you'd have played his mother by now, because I went into grey wigs at a quite early age.
Carrying on
with that Mrs. Beatty Morris.
Up in the quarry.
And seen her, baby?
It's got his nose.
Oh, it makes my heart bleed.
What he'll do for drink.
He sold the pianola.
And her sewing machine.
Falling in the gutter.
Talking to the lamppost.
Using language.
Singing in the doublew.
Poor Mrs. Waldorf.
So that was when I was first aware of it, and that was when I first heard it. It's the one that stayed with me most purely, I think. It's the one I like best, actually, is that very first one. That may be because I was the age I was and it's so long ago, but that's how I feel about it anyway. Without hearing it again now, my memory of it is very vivid.
Do you see me, Captain, the white bone talking? I'm Tom Fred, the donkey man. We shared the same girl once. Her name was Mrs. Probert.
Of course, a lot of Welsh people didn't like it when it came out because it's a bit bold and it's a bit vulgar and it's a bit not very Welsh, really, I suppose. It isn't very Welsh. It's in English for a start, but it feels very Welsh to me.
This, it seems likely, will be the living set for a major film version of Dylan's classic, Under Milkwood. Not Larne, where he wrote it, but Lower Town Fishguard, where he didn't even write a couplet. It's been chosen for its quaintness and its curiosity as a place where modernization hasn't intruded. What Dylan missed, the filmmakers will immortalize as the home of Captain Cat Organ Morgan and Polly Garter.
You landlubber, Rosie, you cozy love, my easy, my true sweetheart.
I was a director of the company that made the film. I didn't think it was going to be as good as the heard version. I felt that seeing a lot of pictures might interfere with one's enjoyment of the word pictures that were being painted.
It is time to inhale your balsam.
Oh, Mrs. Ogmore.
Oh, Mrs. Pritchard. Soon it will be time to get up. Tell me your tasks in order.
It was done very, very fast, and it had to be done that way, actually. We made it in Fishguard, and everyone had 3 days on it. You travelled on Monday, worked on Tuesday, went home to London on Wednesday. So you were never there for more than 3 days, except for Richard O'Toole, I suppose, and Elizabeth Taylor. And it was probably not as bad as I thought it would be. I just thought in principle that it was a bad idea.
Time passes. An owl flies home past Bethesda to a chapel in an oak, and the dawn inches up.
Richard Burton, what really marked him out was he had such a wonderful voice. I associate him with Under Milkwood very strongly, of course. I just didn't feel it had quite the potency of the one you just hear.
Heaven's the death, the undertaker. Laughs high and aloud in his sleep and curls up his toes as he sees. Upon waking 50 years ago, snow lied deep on the goose field behind the sleeping house.
Pip Broughton is so imaginative. She always comes up with something original. And one day she just came to me and said, would I just do this? So I said, yes. She said, well, you will be sitting here in Cardiff and we'll be shooting you doing your bit, but you'll actually be talking to Jonathan Pryce, who's in America. I said, yes, okay. And how will I know? Or we'll show you when to speak. So that's how it was done.
Some persons were brought up in pigsties.
Pigs can't read, my dear.
I know one who can.
It's so dark that it's funny in places. You know, even the great deal of the humour is dark. But the darkness, well, you know, Dallin is a poet. He writes about people who are very faulty, very wrong, very bad, and very lovable, very understandable. And that's what's so wonderful about it.
Soon it will be time to go to bed. Tell me your tasks in order.
We must take our pajamas from the drawer marked pajamas.
And then you must take them off.
One of the things that makes it satisfying is that it takes place in a day and a night and a day. You see the people asleep and you see their dreams very clearly because the narration, the first voice is so lively that you can see these people. And then the day goes on and then night falls. It's circular. It's very satisfying because you feel that you know a lot about them. You've only seen them for one day, but you feel you know a lot about them because you've seen them asleep and you've seen them awake, which is a different thing. And you've seen them as rounded people.
A new parcel of ribbons has come from Carmarthen today. All the colours in the rainbow. I wish I could tie a ribbon in your hair, a white one, but it cannot be. I dreamed last night you were all dripping wet and you sat on my lap as the Reverend Jenkins went down the street. I see you got a mermaid in your lap, he said, and he lifted his hat.
I don't know what it is that makes Under Milkwood so very important to, not just to Welsh people, to people. It's, I honestly couldn't tell you, but being in it is a very strange feeling. I've been in many versions of Under Milkwood. I realise I seem to have spent most of my life doing Under Milkwood, though I haven't. It is very, very Welsh, very, very liberating in a way. There were no rules. It was, I can't describe it.
Mr. Bynon in Butcher's bloodied apron, spring heels down Coronation Street. A finger, not his own, in his mouth.
I nearly always played Mrs. Ogmore Pritchard. But I didn't really care what I was playing. It's just being in it that's so very nice. You know, it's just being part of it, really.
Persons with manners.
Snaps, Mrs. Cold Pugh.
Do not nod at table.
Mr. Pugh cringes awake.
You should wait until you retire to your sty.
Says Mrs. Pugh, sweet as a razor.
I wonder, will it go on and on? I suppose it will. It's shown no sign of stopping since it was written. And I can't see why it would ever stop. People will always be wanting to do it, it seems to me, and there will be people who want to see it in its different forms. I think they'll become even more bold.
For whether we last the night or no...
The poetry, the dialogue, the writing is such good quality and so accessible and so uplifting. It's not only accessible, it takes you to places that you didn't know. I think anyone seeing it or listening to it would be beguiled by it and want to watch more. It's such good quality. underneath all the fun and the larks and the dirty bits and the funny bits and the sad bits. And it changes all the time. You know, 1 minute it's affecting, 1 minute it's heartbreaking, another moment it's just funny, another minute it's just rude. And it's such a human mixture. I defy anybody not to be beguiled by it.
And say goodbye, but just for now.